What if I told you that your dog already knows whether you love them or not? Not because of the toys you bought, not because of the expensive food, not because of the cute photos you post online, but because of something you do or don't do every single day. And here is the terrifying part. Most dog owners who truly love their dogs are accidentally sending the wrong message every single day. So if you have ever looked into your dog's eyes and wondered, does my dog actually know how much I love them? Stay with me, because what you are about to discover is going to change the way you see your dog forever. Let's start with something that most people never think about. Dogs did not evolve to understand human love the way we understand it. They did not grow up reading greeting cards. They do not understand birthday parties or expensive gifts. Their brain is wired completely differently from ours. And yet, somehow, dogs form some of the deepest emotional bonds on the planet. So, how does that happen? How does a creature that cannot speak our language, cannot read our words, cannot understand our intentions, how does that creature know whether it is truly loved? The answer lies in something far deeper than most people realize. It lies in daily patterns, in repeated behaviors, in the small, quiet, consistent things you do every single day. And when you understand what those things actually are, and more importantly, why they work at such a deep psychological level, you will never look at your daily routine with your dog the same way again. Now, before we get into the first thing, I need you to understand something about dog psychology that almost nobody talks about. Dogs are pattern recognition machines. This is not a metaphor. This is literally how their brains are built. In the wild, a dog's survival depended on reading patterns. Who comes back? Who brings food? Who is safe? Who is a threat? And over thousands of years of living with humans, that pattern recognition system did not disappear. It adapted. It evolved to read human patterns specifically. So when you show up for your dog in consistent, predictable ways, their brain registers something very important. This person is safe. This person is reliable. This person is mine. And that feeling of safety and reliability is the closest thing a dog can experience to what we call love. But here is what most dog owners don't realize. It is not the big moments that build that feeling. It is not the vacations or the birthday celebrations or the Instagram photo shoots. It is the small things, the daily things, the things that happen so quietly that most owners never even notice them. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. The first thing is something so simple that when I tell you, your first reaction might be to think, that cannot be it. But trust me, stay with me, because there is a layer underneath this that most people completely miss. The first thing is making eye contact with your dog every single morning. Not a glance. Not a quick look before you rush to make coffee. Real, soft, warm eye contact. The kind where you actually stop what you are doing, look at your dog, and let them look back at you. Now here is the psychology behind why this matters so deeply. When a dog makes eye contact with someone they love and trust, their brain releases oxytocin. That is the same bonding hormone that gets released between a mother and a newborn baby. Scientists have actually studied this. A study published in the journal Science found that when dogs and their owners gazed into each other's eyes, both the human and the dog experienced a spike in oxytocin levels. Let me say that again. Both of them, the dog and the human, at the same time. Through eye contact. This is not just touching. This is biology. This is chemistry. And it happens every single morning if you choose to let it. But here is the part that makes this even more powerful, and also slightly uncomfortable. If you rush past your dog every morning, without making that connection. If you are too busy checking your phone or thinking about your day, your dog notices. They notice every single time. And over weeks and months, they start to build a very different kind of pattern in their brain. A pattern that says, I am not the priority. And that pattern has consequences that go much deeper than you might think. But we will come back to that. The second thing builds directly on the first, and this one is going to challenge something that a lot of well-meaning dog owners believe. Many people think that talking to their dog is silly. They feel embarrassed about it. They do it when nobody is watching but feel like they should stop. I am here to tell you that you should never stop. Talking to your dog daily is not silly. It is not pointless. It is one of the most powerful things you can do to communicate love, and the reason why is fascinating. Dogs cannot understand the words you are saying, at least not most of them, but what they are doing while you talk to them is something far more sophisticated than word recognition. They are reading your tone, your rhythm, your emotional state, your breathing pattern, and the warmth in your voice. Research from the University of Sussex found that dogs process human speech using both hemispheres of their brain, just like humans do. They use the left hemisphere to process the actual words and the right hemisphere to process tone and emotion. And when the words and the tone match up, when your words are warm and your voice matches that warmth, dogs respond at a neurological level. They feel it. So when you talk to your dog in the morning, when you narrate your day to them, when you tell them you love them in a soft, calm voice, they are not just hearing noise, they are experiencing emotional communication. And that experience, repeated, daily, builds trust at a level most owners never fully understand. But here is where it gets interesting and slightly unsettling. The same system that helps dogs read warmth in your voice also helps them detect stress, anger, and anxiety. So, if you are rushing, stressed, and speaking in tense, clipped sentences, your dog picks that up too. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Some dogs who seem anxious for no reason are actually just mirroring the emotional state of an owner who has never slowed down long enough to realize it. We will talk more about that later. But first, let's move to the third thing. Because this one is something that I almost guarantee you are doing wrong even if you think you are doing it right. Physical touch. Yes, you pet your dog. But the question is not whether you pet your dog. The question is how you pet your dog, and whether your dog actually enjoys it. Now you might be thinking, of course my dog loves being petted. But here is what most dog owners don't realize. Not all touch is comforting to a dog. In fact, some forms of touch that humans think are affectionate can actually be mildly stressful for dogs. Patting the top of the head, for example. Many dogs tolerate it but do not truly enjoy it. Hugging is another one. To a human, a hug means love and comfort. To a dog, being held tightly around the neck and shoulders can feel like being restrained. Now, I am not saying you should never hug your dog. What I am saying is that you need to learn your specific dog's preferred form of touch. Some dogs love long, slow strokes along their back. Some prefer gentle ear rubs. Some love a soft. Learning to read your dog's signals. Every single day. This is not a one-time thing. This is a daily practice. And it is one of the most powerful ways to communicate love, because love is not just about what you give. Love is about whether you see the other person, or in this case, whether you see your dog. Dogs are constantly communicating, constantly. Through their body language, their posture, their tail position, their ear position, their eye softness or tension, their breathing, their movement. And most owners, even loving, dedicated owners, are only picking up on about 10% of what their dog is saying. Maybe less. So what does it look like to actually start listening? It means watching your dog the way you would watch someone you deeply care about. It means noticing when their energy is lower than usual, noticing when they seek you out more than normal, noticing when they are avoiding a certain room or person or situation. It means asking the question, what is my dog trying to tell me right now? And then being quiet enough to receive the answer. Now here is where this connects to love in a way that will make you stop and think. When a dog feels truly seen by their owner, when their signals are consistently noticed and responded to, something shifts in their behavior. They become calmer, more confident, less reactive. Not because anything in their environment changed, but because they feel understood. And Feeling understood is one of the most powerful emotional needs that dogs share with humans. But most dog owners never get to experience this because they are too busy projecting what they think their dog is feeling rather than observing what the dog is actually communicating. And that gap between what owners assume and what dogs actually feel is where most behavioral problems are born. The fifth thing is one that almost no one thinks of as an act of love, but it might be the most important one on this list, and that is giving your dog predictability. Dogs do not just want love in the emotional sense. They need structure. They need to know what is coming next. They need to feel like the world around them makes sense. And the way you create that for your dog is through daily routine, not a rigid military-style schedule, but a consistent, reliable rhythm, feeding at roughly the same time, walks that happen with regularity, sleep and wake patterns that your dog can anticipate, play that happens predictably enough that your dog can look forward to it. And here is the psychological reason why this matters so deeply. A dog that lives in a predictable, structured environment has a nervous system that is operating in a state of calm. Their cortisol levels, the stress hormone, stay low. Their ability to learn, to bond, to enjoy life, all of it improves. But a dog that lives in a chaotic, unpredictable environment is in a constant low-level state of stress. And here is the devastating part. That stress is invisible to most owners. The dog is not barking, not destroying things, not showing obvious signs of distress. They are just quietly anxious every single day. And no amount of toys or treats or expensive dog beds can fix that. Only routine can. Only you showing up consistently can fix that. The sixth thing is something that modern life has made incredibly difficult, and that is why so many dogs today are struggling in ways they did not used to. The sixth thing is dedicated, distraction-free time. Not time when you are sitting on the couch with your dog while scrolling your phone. Not time when you are working from home with your dog in the corner. Actual, intentional time where your dog is the only thing you are focused on. Even if it is just 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes of a walk where you are not looking at your phone, 10 minutes of play where you are fully present, 10 minutes of training where your entire attention is on your dog. Because here is what happens in those 10 minutes that does not happen at any other time. Your dog gets to experience you as a fully present, engaged partner, and that experience is so rare, so powerful that it leaves a neurological imprint. It tells your dog, in a language deeper than words, you matter enough to have all of me. And here is what makes this heartbreaking for so many dogs right now. We are living in an age of distraction, and dogs are paying the price for it. They sit beside their owners for hours every day, physically close but emotionally disconnected. And they feel that disconnection. They feel it deeply. And over time, that feeling shapes who they become. Dogs that seem needy or clingy or anxious are often just dogs that have been physically present with their owners for years, but emotionally alone for most of it. That is not a character flaw in the dog. That is a response to an environment that never fully met their emotional needs. And now we have arrived at the seventh thing. And this one I have saved for last on purpose. Because this is the one that most people will not expect. And this is the one that, once you understand it, will change everything about how you see your relationship with your dog. The seventh thing is allowing your dog to be a dog. Every single day. Now stay with me, because this is deeper than it sounds. Modern dog owners, especially deeply loving ones, often make a mistake that comes from the purest place. They project human emotions, human needs, human comfort preferences onto their dog. They dress their dog in clothes because they think the dog is cold when the dog is actually stressed by the sensation of fabric. They pick their dog up when the dog encounters another dog because they think they are protecting them when they are actually preventing the dog from learning how to communicate with their own species. They avoid letting their dog sniff on walks because it slows things down. not realizing that sniffing is how dogs process the world, how they decompress, how they satisfy one of their deepest neurological needs. A dog that is not allowed to sniff, to explore, to occasionally roll in something disgusting, to chase something with their eyes, to just be a dog, that dog is being quietly suffocated, not with cruelty, but with love that has been filtered entirely, through a human lens. And here is the realization that I want you to sit with for a moment. Real love, deep love, the kind that actually lands, the kind that your dog can actually feel and understand, is love that meets the other being where they are. Not where you wish they were, not where it is convenient for them to be, but where they actually are. Your dog is not a small human. Your dog is a dog. A magnificent, emotionally complex, deeply feeling, psychologically rich creature who experiences the world in ways that are sometimes similar to ours and sometimes completely different. And when you learn to love your dog in their language, not just in yours, something remarkable happens. The bond stops being about what you give and starts being about who you are to each other. It becomes something mutual, something real. Something that your dog does not just tolerate, but genuinely lives inside of every single day. So here is where everything we have talked about comes together. The morning eye contact builds oxytocin and trust. The daily conversation builds emotional attunement. The right kind of touch builds physical safety. Learning their signals builds mutual understanding. Predictable routine builds neurological calm. Dedicated presence builds genuine connection. And allowing your dog to be a dog builds the deepest form of respect. These 7 things, done daily, consistently, with intention, do not just communicate love to your dog. They create an environment in which love is the dominant experience of your dog's life. And that, more than any toy, any treat, any expensive product, is what your dog will carry with them for the rest of their days. You know, there is a moment that some dog owners describe, usually after they have had their dog for many years. A moment where they are just sitting together quietly and they look at their dog, and their dog looks back at them. And in that moment, there is this feeling that something profound is happening. Something that does not need words, something that has been built slowly, quietly, over thousands of ordinary days. That moment is not an accident. It is the result of all of those small choices, all of those daily acts of love, accumulating over time into something extraordinary. And the beautiful thing is, it is never too late to start. It does not matter if your dog is 8 weeks old or 8 years old. It does not matter if you feel like you have been doing some of these things wrong. You can start today. With eye contact, with your voice, with a slow, intentional scratch in exactly the right spot, with 10 minutes of your full attention. That is where it begins. That is where it always begins. If this video gave you something to think about or something to feel, please consider sharing it with someone who loves their dog. And if you want to go even deeper into dog psychology, into understanding your dog at a level that most owners never reach, subscribe, and stay with us, because we are just getting started.